I was extraordinarily reluctant to share the following image with you, but I thought it was important. But it's seriously just between you and me. I would ask that you please, please, out of respect, not share this image anywhere, not talk about it. Let's keep this on the down low. Here you go. Yep, that is. He's not even shadow president anymore, and he's not even president. That is fledgling dictator Elon Musk sitting behind the Resolute desk, which is, yeah, I know Donald is the one sitting there, but I'm pretty sure Musk is the one pulling the strings because, as we know, as Hillary Clinton warned us back in 2016, no, 2016, 2016. Seriously, like, how do we keep track anymore? Several eons ago, Hillary Clinton warned us that Donald Trump is Putin's puppet. Turns out he's just a puppet, and anybody can pull those strings. So, this image, that's an actual cover of Time magazine. And again, the reason I don't want you sharing it far and wide to everybody you know, don't do that, is because it might bother somebody. And we can't have that. So that cover comes a week after Elon Musk's fake, illegitimate, unauthorized, non-governmental government agency, the Department of Government Efficiency, gained access to the U.S. Treasury, which is a sentence nobody should have ever had to say or hear, which has given him and a small coterie of unqualified people access to sensitive financial systems and the personal data of every American. Feeling safer? So, how did Musk pull this off? I mean, besides from the obvious fact that he is an unelected, unauthorized, unconfirmed agent of chaos who is essentially doing whatever he wants with the complete and utter, blessing is completely the wrong word in this situation, permission of Donald Trump, who probably doesn't know 99.9% of what's happening around him. Um, that's the first way this was able to happen. And now, since he's been installed, he's built a small cadre of very young tech bros, dudes, of course, none of whom seems to have developed their frontal lobes yet, which, is probably why they shouldn't be in charge of our entire federal government. One of these people is a 23-year-old software engineer from Nebraska who helped decipher an ancient scroll. Not an unworthy accomplishment, just not exactly something that qualifies you to do anything other than decipher ancient scrolls. Another was runner-up in a hackathon last year. That's actually a thing, I guess, as a Harvard senior. And a third is the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar startup. So while they may be great at writing code or hacking code, they have zero government experience. We have a lot more to get to, but before we do, please take a second to like and share this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. After you do that, click on the bell, and that way you will be assured to receive alerts every time new videos drop. Okay, let's get back to it. We're starting with the resignation of DOGE staffer Marco Elez. Take a look at this clip.
Well, there's been a shakeup at tech titan Elon Musk's DOGE.
The Wall Street Journal released a report titled "DOGE Staffer Resigns Over Racist Posts." The story reads, Marco Elez, a 25-year-old who is part of a cadre of Elon Musk lieutenants deployed by the Department of Government Efficiency to scrutinize federal spending, resigned after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connection to the account.
Yes, he resigned after racist eugenicist social media posts linked to him were uncovered. He, like other of the unelected, unauthorized, unconfirmed hacks Musk has installed, much like him, right? Had access to the Treasury's $5 trillion payment systems. And more access to parts of the government than many of our elected officials. Here's just a sample of some of Velez's tweets, and let's decide together if we think they're disqualified. He has advocated for repealing the Civil Rights Act and supported a eugenic immigration policy. He wrote, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity." I'm guessing you couldn't pay anybody to marry him at all, but what do I know? He also casually posted, quote, "normalize Indian hate," unquote, and wrote, "just for the record, I was racist before it was cool." Which I think tells you as much as you need to know about him. My only question, that and his completely embarrassing nickname for himself. My only question is, well, that's not true. I have many questions, but in relation to this, my question is, why did he have to resign? Like, seriously, his boss a couple of weeks ago was giving Nazi salutes in front of the whole world. And this guy sent some tweets about, anti-indigenous, his anti-indigenous thoughts, that he's admitting he's racist, that he's pro-eugenics. So is Donald Trump. I do not see what the problem is here. But trust me, in a couple of weeks, a month, 3 months, people like Elez will not have to resign under pressure if their racist and misogynistic and anti-immigrant and pro-eugenicist pasts are uncovered. Because Elon has no shame, instead of condemning Elez, because why condemn somebody you totally agree with, he ran a Twitter poll instead asking if he should rehire him. Because that's apparently how the United States is making staffing decisions now. I was going to say the United States government, but let's face it, there is no such thing at the moment. What we do, or what they do, the regime does, is make their decisions based on letting fascist trolls vote on Twitter, which seems pretty efficient, actually, since Twitter has completely suppressed the voices of pro-democracy advocates, and all Musk wants is, a built-in army of people validating his grotesque opinions. This information came out because it appears DOGE's hiring practices aren't as secret as Musk would have wanted them to be. A handful of independent researchers and journalists started tracking Musk's staff, exposing their lack of qualifications and, in some instances, their shady past, as we saw with Les. Because never taking responsibility for one's actions is as necessary a qualification for working in the Trump regime as being a bigot, Musk banned them. The guy who used to proclaim himself a free speech absolutist immediately silenced journalists for exposing what DOGE was up to. Remember this?
Choose your question carefully. There's 5 minutes left.
Okay, but so
Is this the question you want to ask?
The same question is, you said that they are killing the company, but you're the head of the company. The buck doesn't stop with you.
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
He seems lovely. Yeah, if you have to take like 7.5 hours to answer the question, chances are you don't have a good answer. And of course, he lied. The last thing in the world this miscreant is interested in is free speech for anybody but him and people who believe exactly what he believes, which, by the way, isn't free speech, as it's enshrined in the potentially soon-to-be defunct First Amendment. The Washington Post and Wire reported that after an anonymous account posted the identities of the adolescent DOGE engineers. Well, I mean, I don't know. Adolescent, that's being a little harsh. They're like 20. Musk replied, quote, "You have committed a crime," unquote. No, they were just doing this thing called journalism, which, if we're not careful, may soon be a crime in this country. Shortly thereafter, their accounts were removed and replaced with a message saying that they had been suspended for violating Twitter's rules, which is probably true, because Twitter's rules probably now include disallowing people from actually presenting people with the facts. So while Musk is busy banning critics, the increasingly thin-skinned man has continued the serious work of turning Twitter into his own personal fascist clubhouse. He more frequently posts polls asking his followers to help him decide national policy because that's sane. Like asking whether or not to audit the IRS. Is that a thing that can be done? I do not think that is how audits work. He amplifies conspiracy theories like falsely claiming USAID is a quote unquote criminal organization in order to justify its shutdown. GOP lawmakers lobbying him directly on the platform and get millions of views overnight. And it isn't just lawmakers, it's anybody with a sort of fascist agenda can approach him on Twitter. For instance, after Flexport, which is a San Francisco based logistics firm led by CEO Ryan Pearson, requested the US Mint be shut down, Musk replied, noted. He's taking it under advisement, I guess, because for some reason, I'm having a very difficult time wrapping my head around. He now has that authority. In fact, not only does this random guy on Twitter say we should shut down a federal agency over which Elon Musk should, in our wildest nightmares, not have any jurisdiction, guess what's happening? DOGE is reviewing this because we live in the most absurd timeline ever. I mean, even flying dinosaurs are not more absurd than what's happening right now. This is where it actually gets okay. It's all terrifying, but there's terrifying and stuff we have to worry about. We're still waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then there's terrifying because things are actually happening in real time that are harming people and completely undermining any hope we have of maintaining our democracy. DOGE is not just reviewing spending cuts manually. They're feeding massive amounts of federal data into AI models. At the Department of Education, Musk's team asked AI to do the following: scan internal financial records, including grants, contracts, and salaries, flag wasteful spending, according to whom? I do not know. Maybe according to AI, including DEI programs and student aid funding. They put 100 employees on leave overnight based on an AI scan of their diversity training records. Two anonymous sources revealed to the Post that the software is accessed via Microsoft's Azure cloud service, with staff instructed not to interfere with the team's work. It should also be noted that AI systems can often hallucinate information all the time. While it can be used to manage some day-to-day activities, it certainly shouldn't be used to enact federal budget cuts. In other words, hallucinate seems maybe a difficult term to wrap our head around when we're talking about software, but basically, AI can literally just go off on its own tangents and come to conclusions that do not exist, that should not be reached based on available facts and evidence. For a person, that would sort of be like having a psychotic break. But sure, let's do that. I mean, listen, we've got Donald Trump and Elon Musk in charge. We're almost 90% of the way there to having people having psychotic breaks in charge of everything. Not an official diagnosis. Musk has made it clear that he will not tolerate resistance. And why should he? I keep asking that question. Why should he? Why should they? Well, I know it's a rhetorical question. It's a device. However, I kind of really want that question answered. Why should he? Well, because somebody's doing something about it would be a lovely answer to hear right about now. But, this is a guy who probably has God knows how many mercenaries on his payroll. And, of course, the fascist Republican Party is in control of everything, and nobody's going to go against anything Donald Trump wants, which is its own form of madness. So just days before the USAID incident, a Treasury official blocked DOGE's access to the U.S. federal payment system, leading to the official's forced retirement. Musk has had a lot to say about this on Twitter, of course. Watch this clip.
Elon Musk, the head of DOGE, is making bold claims on his platform X. In a viral post with over 44 million views, Musk accused USAID of funding bioweapon research, including work on COVID-19, through taxpayer dollars. He alleges $53 million went to EcoHealth Alliance, which supported controversial coronavirus research at the Wuhan lab. The post also suggested USAID has ties to the CIA, calling its actions, quote, deceptive.
None of that is true. And either he knows it's not true, in which case he's an extraordinarily dangerous person who will say or do anything to get his way, or he actually does believe it's true, in which case he is a deeply deranged conspiracy theorist who has no right being in charge of anything, let alone government agencies. Of course, the new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, quickly granted DOGE access to pretty much anything they wanted access to, because we know whose team he's on. However, on February 5th, the administration temporarily restricted this access following legal action from former and current employees, which is good. I just don't think it's something we're going to be able to count on in the near future. In the letter this week from Democratic senators to the White House, the senators summed up their concerns this way, quote, "No information has been provided to Congress or the public as to who has been formally hired under DOGE, under what authority or regulations DOGE is operating, or how DOGE is vetting and monitoring its staff and representatives before providing them seemingly unfettered access to classified materials and Americans' personal information," unquote. Well, that's because nobody has been formally hired under DOGE. Nobody who has been hired has any legitimate authority. There are no regulations under which DOGE is legitimately operating because it is an illegitimate, made up, quote unquote, agency. There has been no vetting or monitoring of staff. There have been no FBI background checks. It is only down to who Elon Musk wants in those positions of power and to whom Elon Musk wants to give essentially unfettered access to the information and data about every single American citizen. So let's be real. None of this has ever been about efficiency unless we're talking about the efficiency with which these criminals and thieves can steal from the US Treasury to enrich themselves at the expense of the rest of us. This is about gutting federal agencies from the inside in order to make their theft easier. Musk's team is not looking for waste. Okay. They're going into agencies like the Department of Labor, USAID, and Health and Human Services, deciding which entire divisions they should cut. Why? Because they want a government to work better? No. Because they want to hobble us. This is about gutting any department that does not serve corporate interests. Why would they care about feeding starving children in other countries if they don't care about feeding starving children here? If you think this is about saving money, I hope I would have disabused you of that notion so far, but in case you need more evidence, let's remember that Musk is personally overseeing cuts to Social Security and Medicaid, two services he will never, ever, ever, ever need. He's targeting climate programs while his companies cash in on federal energy contracts. And he's dismantling federal oversight of big tech, finance, and, of course, his own agencies. Because Elon Musk and Donald Trump and their minions and their jackbooted thugs are the swamp that they are trying so efficiently to drown us all in.
Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.